Priyanka, thank you so much for joining us for BlogHer to celebrate Women's History Month and International Women's Day, which is every single day, by the way. You just released your first ever book called Unfinished. And I just want you to know I binge listened to it the last few days. So I feel like we've spent a lot of time together, except you just didn't let me talk. But your book is—
A lot of my friends and my husband will agree with that, though.
But it was super enjoyable. The book is fantastic. It's funny, it's revealing, it's vulnerable, it's heartbreaking, and it's unfinished, as the title says. So first question, why did you choose to write this book now? And were there any other titles you were considering?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Reshma, and hi to everyone at BlogHer. And I'm really, really excited to be here talking all things female with everyone because it's my favorite subject. And I'm so happy you liked the book. I always wanted to write, Reshma, and I was just like really afraid of what that would be like in the process of it. So I'm so happy that people are responding so well to the book, and it's like on the bestsellers lists, and it's like unbelievable for me, honestly, the way the readers are responding to my journey and the writing. It makes me really happy. But yes, the book was initially intended to, I don't know, be something like letters to my younger self, or because that was the tone of the book to me. I always knew that if I do a memoir, it's going to have to be conversational. It'll have to be sort of introspective for me about my own life. So that's sort of the tone it was going to be, but it was too long a title. And I remember I was doing 73 questions with Vogue, and they asked me if you had a memoir, and this is in 2017 or 16 or something. If you had a memoir, what would you call it? And I just said Unfinished. And then I was like, bing!
You thought of it so much earlier.
Yeah. So then when I actually went ahead and I was doing it, I was like, oh yeah, that's a great title because of so many reasons. Unfinished just works so well for me.
Yeah. So question for you, what was the hardest part to write? Because, the parts about your dad, I was sobbing. Like, I love those parts.
Well, that was hard. There are a lot of things that were hard in the book that, things that maybe I hadn't spoken about, things I hadn't addressed, my emotions, feelings, vulnerabilities, failures. I've always been such a private person. I've always kept such a guard up when it comes to my life, as much as people, think that they know me, whoever does know me. Being a public person, you get really good at keeping a lot of you, private.
Yeah.
Even though people think that they know all the things because, you can see my pictures on Instagram, but that's not really what happens.
Yeah.
So the book was sort of my way of cutting the middle person out. Whenever I do interviews or I'm speaking to people, it's always via someone else, right? So perception is never really mine. And I think just with me and my words, it became very personal. The story to me. It was almost like a journal when I wrote it. In fact, when I was done, I had to pull some stories out because I was like, girl, calm down.
You should save it for your next book.
We don't have to be that honest.
But it felt very therapeutic. So I think you got that conversational, vulnerable tone and you did so well with that. So this might sound like a therapy question, but when was the first time that you realized you had power in your life and in your career?
I realized I had power at a very young age. When, I end the book with a story about my father and that nameplate.
Yeah.
I was empowered from when I was a kid. I was empowered to have opinions. I was empowered to have a sense of self, to have a voice. In, a room full of my parents' friends, if they were having a conversation, they would ask me what I think. It's something as small as that I always knew I had power in my words. I always knew I had power in my actions because I was taught that as a kid. Yeah. But I think when I grew up, obviously you have like teenage insecurities and you're weird about all the things that come along with growing up. But I think that inherent sense of power that there is no do or die. Mm-hmm. Even if I fail at something, it's not the end of me. I'm not defined by my failures or rejections or insecurities, because there's always something else that I can pivot to. Having that sort of um, movement in my life. I've always been able to move, and that's something I learned at a very young age, and that's really powerful, to not be defined by the things that are not working out, to not be defined by the things that are unfinished. Just leave them and move on to something, that you feel is adding to your life. We get stuck so much sometimes by just attempting to fix something that is just broken. And whether that is your attempt at, like, for me, my music, for example, I worked on it for a while. It didn't live up to my standards, and I had to make a really hard decision of leaving it behind, pivoting to something that I thought would be better for me. So I think that it's a plethora of things, but I think the power lies within you. It's about how you deal with failure. It's, what do you do after failure? What do you do after a heartbreak? What do you do after you feel terrible? It's that defines how long your journey is and where you're going to go.
I love that. I love that you're saying just try and move on from it and not let it define you. And confession, I did listen to I Can't Make You Love Me this weekend when you mentioned it in the book. And I was like, what? Milo was in that? I was just, so personally, it's on my Spotify list right now. So question for you. You speak about this movie producer telling you to, in a business meeting, to twirl, to get a boob job, to fix your jaw, which is inexplicable to me. Your jaw is beautiful. The whole thing is mortifying, So what are some other times in your career that you face sexism? And do you find that it's easier to stand up against it now?
Sexism is such a prevalent part of society. It's not just like one one business or a specific place where you find it. I think it just exists. And I definitely think women of our generation have moved the goalpost forward, because we've stood our ground and we said, we've demanded that you listen, and we're demanding, change. And hopefully the girls of our next generation won't inherit our problems. But I think that sexism exists. I mean, even coming onto a job where scenes are written around the guy and his ability to save the world, and it's always the dude who will do it. And if you think about something as simple as that, which is so normalized that when if you think about movies, there are very few roles. I mean, it's amazing to see female characters, which are few and far in between, but coming up, we had Wonder Woman, and we have female roles which are mainstream, and the woman's the one driving the story. But think about it that way. How few are those, right? So I can only talk about pop culture because that's my job. But even being told those things in a business meeting, I mean, that gentleman just made it obvious. I mean, think about how many people on your socials or, always, or even advertising, or the sense of what a woman should look like, how she should behave, when she should do what she should do, when she should get married. Everything has been decided by society, right? So that's sexism. It exists everywhere. Women even today have to work 4 times harder to be able to make the same kind of money that they do with their male counterparts. And I'm talking about businesses, I'm talking about CEOs, so we have a long way to go, but we're going to stand our ground. And I think women together coming to each other's rescue, coming and banding together and loving each other. I have such a perspective on that. I think women, for the longest time, we had been told we were pitted against each other, because there's only one who will get the guy, or there's only one who will get the job, and only one. It can't be 5 like it is for guys. Men have a sense of being able to have, but we didn't. And now we're starting to band together and understanding that, it's the lack of opportunity that helped you create this kind of, pitting women against each other. And now we're going to create our own opportunities, so we don't need to do that.
Yeah. One thing you said in the book that I found very interesting is that you worried you get a reputation for being difficult when you were merely standing up for yourself. Do you still in your career now worry about that?
Sometimes, but very rarely. I think I've now, having done this for 20 years, I've kind of found a sense of like other people's opinions not defining the way I feel about myself anymore. I'm on the other side of 35. I have a sense of self. I have a sense of confidence. The 30s also do it to you in a big way, where you lose, you leave behind all the insecurities that you had. But like, I think now I don't think that I would stand for it as much, because I have also achieved enough to be able to, stand on my own feet where I don't feel wobbly. And, I'm at a good place in my life as a woman as well. So I don't think that would be possible to do so brazenly, but I think it still does exist in a big way.
Yeah. I mean, I love the story about how you quit that movie when you realized that you weren't being treated with the respect that you deserved, which is quite a hard thing to do early in your career. So, let's talk a little bit about confidence. You were told as a young girl and a teen how to dress, no short dresses in like school and everything. Then all of a sudden you get into the pageant and they're like, wear swimsuit and heels. So it's like very confusing messages that we all hear when we're younger. How did those mixed messages you got as a young girl affect you?
Well, strangely, it wasn't as mixed, because the way I was raised, I was like, I could wear shorts. I could wear bathing suits when I went to the beach. I just wouldn't wear bathing suits with heels. That just doesn't make sense anywhere. They look great. My legs look great when I wear a bathing suit with heels. Don't get me wrong. But it's impractical, right? And at that time, at 17, I was just so mortified by the fact that I had to do it. But I was raised in a very sort of open-minded family. When I was living with my aunts in the US, they didn't seem to agree with my parents about me wearing shorts and really tight clothes and showing off my cleavage at 15. But I think society does throw mixed messages at women, and and it's confusing to understand what is right, what is wrong, what we've been told to do, what we should do, what we can do. And, all environments are different. To me at 17, because again, like my mom actually said this to me when I went downstairs and I said, they're asking, you have to wear a bathing suit and heels, and who does that? And that makes no sense. And she told me, what's wrong with you? You wear a bathing suit like 15 hours when you're on the beach or at the pool. And I was like, I do. Why am I suddenly uncomfortable about it? But it comes from the duality of the messaging. Absolutely. And I think it's something that we really have to work through when it comes to talking to our children and talking to kids and having them understand.
Yeah. But it's so funny, even you were saying you were told to hide your cleavage, and then you're in a business meeting where they're telling you, fix this, we want to see this, we want to, it is very confusing. So, speaking of family, your brother helped launch your career. I love that story. And, I really think siblings can see the best and worst in us. So what do you think your brother would say is your best quality and your worst? Should we call him? No.
Yeah, I think so. What he would say my worst quality is, oh my gosh, I don't even want to answer it because I'm sure he has a list.
Just do one.
I think he'd say my worst quality is I'm just never around.
Well, that's kind of a compliment because he misses you then. Ish.
Yeah. I hope he says that's my worst quality. And my best quality, I think, I really appreciate the food he cooks. I love the food he cooks. And I'm a fan. So I think that would be one of my best qualities.
That's the best. I love it. Okay, so it's International Women's Day. Having been through what you've been through so far in your life and your career, what do you want people to stop telling young girls?
when they should get married, when they should live their lives, what their dreams should be. Just stop telling them things. Let girls have their individuality. Let them stand on their own feet. Let them have a sense of self. Let them have an opinion. Let them think the way, enjoy the freedoms that men have enjoyed for so many years. Let girls be independent of anyone else defining what their life is. To me, that is what feminism really is, let me enjoy the freedoms that men have enjoyed for such a long time. That's all the equality we're asking for. We are very different as men and women, physiologically, emotionally, physically. But the one thing that we can have is equal opportunity.
Can we get that on a t-shirt? Stop telling girls what to do.
Stop telling girls.
That'll be our theme t-shirt.
Truly. Don't tell me what to do.
Exactly. And if we all wore that shirt, nobody would.
And maybe they'll get it then.
I hope so. I hope a t-shirt can convince them. So, you mentioned how much you loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a teen, but you also said you wondered how it would have been different for you if you had seen someone like you on screen. So, where you are in your career right now, how are you going to change that to create the screen world that you wished you had had?
Well, by being on it myself, I think I'm changing it a little bit. I've had a lot of young girls come and tell me that, and that feels really amazing sometimes to be like, oh, it makes it so much easier for me when I'm like in school, because, people are like, oh, okay, you're also Indian. So there's some sort of sense of, and I was like, my gosh, if that would have happened 20 years ago, I would have felt a sense of confidence maybe, or not so alone. But also I think creating opportunity for more people like me as a producer, hopefully. I'm doing a bunch of movies which have Indian writers, cast, crew, directors, which is very exciting to me to sort of influx global entertainment with Indian talent across the diaspora. And I'm hoping to be able to do that a lot with the kind of stories that I'm telling.
And you and Mindy Kaling are cooking up something together. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yes, that's very exciting too. Hopefully next year we can shoot it. But it's a buddy comedy. We're making it for Universal Pictures, and it's Mindy and I were best friends. And then what happens with that buddy comedy, it ends in a big fat Indian wedding, and it's going to be very fun.
You know a little bit about that. I think that'll be really fun. So I found this interesting. Quantico was your first audition in, I believe, a decade, you said. Yeah. And right before, the story was that before the audition, you walked in and you felt like, your confidence wasn't there. There were other actresses there, and you went into the bathroom and you gave yourself a pep talk over the sink. What was the pep? What did you say to yourself? And have you had to give yourself a pep talk recently?
I don't think I have done that very recently. Now I just call somebody else to give me a pep talk. I'll call my husband, I'll call my mom, or whatever. But in that situation, I didn't expect to feel what I was feeling. I didn't expect to walk in there, see those other girls, and like completely doubt myself all over again, like I did during my pageants. When I saw the other contestants, I was like, oh my God, what am I even doing here? So that's what happened. It threw me completely, which is why I think the only thing that I could think of at that point was, it was such a funny, like romantic comedy moment to, to like look under to see if anyone else is around, and then talk to yourself in the mirror and be like, you know what you're doing.
Did you say did you say like, listen, Priyanka? Like, were you?
I don't think it was so coherent. I don't think I made words. I think it was just a lot of signals and guttural sounds, just
I wish I'd been in that bathroom. I'm going to be honest with you.
It was really funny.
Speaking of auditions, is there any show or audition that you've auditioned for that would surprise people?
Yes, but I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, you're not going to tell me? It's so mean. It's international.
So many.
Share.
Yeah. Because then it'll ruin the movie for you. Because then you'll be like, oh, Pri would have been in it. It would have been so much better. I'm kidding.
Better. Okay. You can tell me after we finish filming, because I want to know. So you just filmed a romantic comedy with Outlander Sam Heughan and Celine Dion. How was that experience? Especially because, you know, COVID restrictions and it's a romantic comedy. What was that like? Is there any kind of funny story from set you can share with us?
Well, it's crazy to shoot, first of all, during COVID. You know, I've finished 2 movies during COVID and starting another show, and the restrictions are crazy. We're tested every day. We are in an insane bubble, can't meet anyone, can't go anywhere, except for set and back, especially the actors, because we're the ones who take off our masks on set.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like highly like protected. But I don't know, like funny things I guess to think about is like constantly thinking of keeping your distance from someone. Like Sam and I eventually we were like, listen, we're gonna have to kiss in this movie, so let's just hug at least. It's fine. We kind of like, okay, this COVID thing, like what it was hard to kind of navigate that. But you know, it was so fun. I love that movie. I love the story. It's so simple and sweet and endearing. And I had the best time. Sam's an amazing co-actor. Russell Tovey, who I did Quantico with, is also in the movie. And so is Sophia Barclay. And just like the cast is great. Celine, we haven't shot with yet. Celine, we shoot with this year.
Okay.
But it's just so exciting that I'm forever and always in history going to be in Celine Dion's acting debut.
That's amazing. Actually, you know, you just reminded me of something. You know, if you had a choice to sing karaoke with Celine Dion or Sam Heughan, who would you pick and what song?
I'd pick Sam because I could at least be better than him. I don't know if I could be better than. Actually, I don't know. I haven't heard Sam sing. Actually, I don't know.
What song would you sing with him?
I'm just not a karaoke person. I don't like karaoke. It makes me really nervous. I'm always the one who stands behind all my friends so that nobody can see me when people go karaoke. But I love listening to other people do it. But I would probably pick like a 90s pop song.
I think you should sing My Heart Will Go On. And then,
oh my gosh, girl, who's gonna hit those notes?
Nobody. It's just
I only do that in the shower, but I do it really well in the shower. That is true. I sing Celine the best in the shower.
So, you know, I was thinking, you know, you did Quantico. Would you ever want to star in another American television show? I mean, I'm sure you realize how popular Outlander is from doing the movie with Sam. Have you watched that show, by the way?
I haven't watched it. I watched a couple of episodes when we started working together, before we started working together, because I was like, oh, I need to get to know this person's acting style.
Would you ever
doing
on a television show or something like
Sorry?
Outlander? Would you ever guest star on like Outlander or any other American television show? Or
I am doing an American television show at the moment. That's what I'm filming in London. It's called Citadel, and it is for Amazon. And it's with Richard Madden, and it's being produced by the Russo brothers. It's really exciting and fun. That's what's keeping me here till November. But yeah, I would love to guest star on multiple shows. I just haven't done it yet, but I'm really excited about being able to do that in something.
Yeah. What show are you watching? Is there any show that you're watching right now that you're like, oh, I would love to be in this?
I was actually watching Call My Agent, the French show, which was really good, actually. And then I started watching WandaVision yesterday.
Ooh, I just started that last weekend. So it's good.
What did you think of it? It's good, yeah.
Good. I need a few more to get into it, but I feel like
I really liked Elizabeth Olsen. I think she's great.
So good. She's
so good in everything she does.
Yeah. So just 2 more questions. You talked about arriving at the upfronts when you were doing Quantico, and you felt like the new kid at school again. I think every time we start a new experience, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm starting all over. And you said that Kerry Washington like waved you over, and then Kerry Washington and Ellen Pompeo welcomed you. In the spirit of women supporting women, do you recall what they said to you? And then I want to talk like, how are you mentoring other young women?
I do remember what they said to me when I first arrived at the carpet. I was like, what is this going to be like? And the first person I see on the carpet was Kerry, and she had this big smile on her face and like waved me down, called me over, and I was just so happy to like know someone, and she like gave me a big hug and said, let's talk inside. We finished our pictures, and then I met Ellen inside, and me and Kerry sat down and talked about, what it is like to lead a network TV show, and how it takes crazy hours and crazy days. And both of them had done it for a really, really long duration. And, they were talking to me about a sense of discipline and the tone that is my responsibility to set on the show, of what the, work ethic should be like. And it was just so nice to hear how they had, sort of managed their extremely large, successful TV shows as the leads of the show. So it was really nice to sit backstage and be able to hear the 411 about, all the things that I needed to know, because I've never done it before.
And how are you trying to carry on, no pun intended there, what they did for you with other women?
Oh my gosh, I love mentoring. It's my favorite thing. I've done it since I was a kid. I love championing women. I love championing women who want to do more. I'm someone like who literally, like, my friends' kids, people I work with, their kids, new actors. Like, if somebody just has to send me a text saying, I just want to talk to you or pick your brains, and I'm like, yeah, want to meet tomorrow? I get really excited about. And they're like, okay, she's a little too excited to do this. But I get really excited because no one asked me those questions, when I was trying to navigate this. So I get extremely enthused when someone asks me.
But you're trying to be the friend you needed.
Yeah, I'm basically trying to be the friend I needed, or the mentor that I needed. But I think, like, I also am very actively, my team is predominantly female. It has predominantly been female. In terms of the movies and work that I'm doing, female-led stories are really crucial to me. Female South Asian stories are really crucial to me. I want to be able to play really interesting parts that, break through mainstream entertainment, so that actors, female actors, especially South Asian female actors who come into Hollywood kind of are not looked at the way I was looked at, it's just like, you want to do a leading role? Like in a mainstream show, so we need to normalize it so much more. And it really is my quest to try and do that as much as I can.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think they did that with Quantico. They wrote your background into it, and it was so organic and natural. And totally. I can't wait to see you do more like that. So here we go. What's next for you? You start on a TV show, you've written a book, you've had 17 wedding ceremonies. Whatever, we're Indian, we love a 3-day wedding, let us live. You produced and starred in White Tiger, which is beautiful. You've conquered Bollywood, you're storming Hollywood. So what is next for Priyanka?
Well, I've just started working in this part of the world, actually. I mean, Quantico was just 5 years ago, if you think about it. I'm just about starting to do, the roles that I want to. I've just about done my first, like, leading part. And so it's a growth that I want to be able to achieve. I really want to explore myself as an artist. In India, I had the ability to do lots of genres, different kinds of roles, work with different kinds of directors. I want to be able to do that here as well, really, like, push myself creatively as a producer. I want to maybe direct at some point. I want to write again. I don't know what that will be. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping it'll be a screenplay or a story or something. But, I just basically want to push myself creatively and see what I can do, what I can create, the kind of career based on, my thoughts and my dreams. I'm really hoping to do that in this part of the world as well. So lots to do.
I have to say, from reading your book, Little Priyanka at boarding school, I would watch that show. She was the cutest. Yeah, I mean, I also felt really bad, and I was like, I really want to pick her up from school and tell her it's going to be okay.
I actually met my teacher, Mrs. Bhaskar, who I mentioned, my kindergarten teacher who I mentioned in the book, her daughter recently, who used to go to the same school, Lamatnia, and she used to babysit me because, I didn't have any family there, and I was always, and she told me stories which were like, she's like, you were such a sad kid with big eyes and used to follow me around everywhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, poor me. I don't remember that.
Okay, so I could talk to you for hours more just based on your book. It was so beautiful. Is there any message that you want to leave our BlogHer audience with today?
For sure. I would like to really tell the BlogHer audience that, it's really crucial to recognize your power. It is very crucial to recognize the fact that you have the ability to change your circumstances. You have the ability already inherently in you to be able to push the goalpost for yourself and push the needle. And don't ever let anyone else take that power away from us. We've been told for a very, very long time who to be, how to be. And it's important to allow yourself to dream, to allow yourself to take a step towards your dream. And I would say also a lot of negativity in the world. I would tell young people out there, socials on the internet, and everybody reads stuff, we're all exposed to it. I think it's really crucial to always remember that the negativity that is coming to you, is it coming from a credible source? Like, is that person important to your life? Is that person going to put food on your table or be able to be there for you when at 4 o'clock in the morning you're in trouble and you want to talk to someone? They're not. So does their opinion really matter? I think the opinions that really matter are the ones who are your nearest and dearest. And I think we should take on all the positivity that social and the internet gives us with the negativity. Thank you. Next.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Priyanka. On behalf of everyone at home and at BlogHer, we can't think of anyone better to spend International Women's Day with. A round of applause. They're standing up at home right now.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I had a great time talking to you. And International Women's Day is every day because it's high time that we celebrate women every single day.
And look out for our t-shirt. Stop telling us what to do.
Stop telling us what to do. It has to have like 3 exclamations at the end.
Done. We can do whatever we want on this shirt.
Great. Love it. Thank you, Reshma.
Thank you, Priyanka.